The desert wind, a relentless hand, buffeted Jedediah Stone as he dismounted before Thorne's estate. The air, remarkably clean compared to the dust-choked streets of Redemption, carried the scent of wildflowers and something else sandalwood. A faint echo of the livery stable. "Find anything, Clem?" Stone's voice was raspy, worn by days of questioning and sleepless nights. Clem, young and eager, shook his head, his gaze sweeping the manicured lawns and the sprawling ranch house. "Just quiet, Marshal. Too quiet." Stone nodded, his eyes fixed on the veranda, where Elias Thorne stood, a picture of carefully cultivated grief. "He's confessed to hiring a man, a drifter known only as Silas, to send a message to his brother. Not to kill him, he insisted, just to scare him straight. A lie, Stone suspected, layered over a deeper, uglier truth. "Mr. Thorne," Stone said, his voice even, "I appreciate your cooperation." Thorne's face tightened, a flicker of something akin to fear crossing his features. "I want this over, Marshal. This has taken enough from me." Stone ignored the sentiment. He'd seen grief before, the raw, gut-wrenching kind. This felt different, staged. "I understand you were quite close to your brother." "We were complicated," Thorne corrected, wringing his hands. "Family often is." "Complicated how, Mr. Thorne?" Stone pressed, his gaze unwavering. Thorne hesitated, then launched into a carefully constructed narrative of childhood rivalries and differing ambitions. Stone listened patiently, picking at the inconsistencies, the omissions. The picture Thorne painted was of two men driven apart by ambition, not malice. "Your father was a shrewd man, wasn't he?" Stone asked, interrupting Thorne's monologue. Thorne's eyes narrowed. "What about my father has to do with any of this?" "He had dealings, Mr. Thorne. Shipping. New Orleans. Importing." Stone paused, letting the unspoken words hang in the air. "Exotic goods." Thorne's composure cracked. He paled, his hand trembling as he reached for a nearby chair. I don't know what you're implying." Stone walked towards a flower bed near the veranda steps, his boots crunching on the gravel. The single crimson ruby nestled among the blossoms glinted in the afternoon sun. He picked it up, its surface smooth and cold against his palm. "This was in the flower bed, Mr. Thorne. Recognize it?" Thorne's breath hitched. He stared at the ruby as if it were a venomous snake. "Where did you find that?" "Right here, Mr. Thorne. Along with something else." Stone reached into his pocket and produced a small, intricately carved wooden bird. It depicted a mockingbird, its wings frozen in mid-flight. "Found it near the ruby." Thorne let out a strangled cry, burying his face in his hands. "It's all connected," he mumbled, his voice choked with despair. "Father, the shipping Silas, it all comes back to father." Stone knelt, his gaze fixed on Thorne. "Tell me about your father, Mr. Thorne. Everything." Thorne began to speak, the story tumbling out in a torrent of guilt and regret. Their father, a man of immense wealth and ambition, had built his fortune on illicit trade, smuggling rare goods and exploiting vulnerable communities. Silas, driven by a thirst for power, had embraced their father's methods, pushing the boundaries of legality and morality. Elias, repulsed by their father's cruelty, had tried to distance himself, but had become entangled in their web of deceit. The shipping company, Thorne explained, was a front for their father's illicit operations. The exotic goods were often stolen artifacts, slaves, and weapons. Silas had been the company's ruthless enforcer, silencing those who threatened their empire. The wooden mockingbird was a symbol of their family's legacy, a cruel mockery of justice and a reminder of their father's insatiable greed. Silas wanted the shipping records, Thorne confessed, his voice barely a whisper. He wanted to use them to solidify his power, to control everything. "And you?" Stone asked, his eyes narrowed. "I tried to stop him," Thorne sobbed. "I hired the drifter, Silas, to send a message, hoping to scare him straight. But he wouldn't listen. He was obsessed with power." Stone stood, his expression grim. "And the man in the hat, who was he, Mr. Thorne?" Thorne shook his head, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resignation. "I don't know. Silas never told me his name. He was just a contact, a hired gun." As Thorne's confession ended, a chill wind swept across the veranda, carrying the scent of sandalwood and something else, the metallic tang of approaching rain. Stone knew this wasn't the end. Thorne's confession opened the door, but it also revealed a labyrinth of secrets and betrayals that stretched far beyond redemption and into the murky depths of a larger conspiracy. "You're under arrest, Mr. Thorne," Stone said, his voice flat, "for conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, and accessory to murder." Clem stepped forward, cuffing Thorne and leading him towards the waiting horses. As they rode away, Stowe stood alone on the veranda, a single crimson ruby heavy in his hand. The rain began to fall, washing away the dust and grime, but not the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the man in the hat was still up there, and the secrets of their father's legacy were far from being revealed.